Neighbor? I am the Martian ambassador.
Des Moines and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Mac's World Live. Mac's World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Mac's World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Mac's World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
7 minutes after 4 o'clock, 14th day of January, 1 month away from Valentine's Day. Just giving you heads notice. You can't come up on Valentine's Day and say, well, Mac never told me. I'm telling you, Randy King, are you listening to me? That beautiful little bride of yours, Jill, man, she deserves, I don't know, a new coffee table, something. She's worth her weight in gold. All right, and I'm happy to be here tonight. I'm heading to Perry tonight, to the Perry Library, where I'm going to be speaking to the Perry Amateur Radio Club, ham radio, things like that. And I asked Frank to go with me, and he won't. He said he's got something more important to do. I think it's his cynicalness in hopes that I'll be abandoned on the side of the road. You know, some gypsies will come along and take me away and sell me off for human trafficking somewhere, and then tomorrow it'll be Frank's world. That's your plan, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a subplot.
You've hired gypsies to come. You tell them I'm on 141, and you describe my car and my license plates, and some poor gypsy woman's going to stand by the side of the road with a lantern.
I think Cher had a song like that, Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves.
She'll have a horse with a bad hoof or something, and I'll stop and...
You know what's going to happen now? All the Perry listeners are going to be showing up to see who you are.
Well, they know who I am.
Well, you're different in person than you are,
Am I?
on the radio.
Am I?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I always thought I was the same.
No, you're just so much nicer in person.
Oh, okay.
Friendlier in person.
All right. Well, anyway, Patrick invited me up tonight, and I said if the weather was good, and God has such a sense of humor, gave me the warmest day in January in 27 years. So that's where I'll be, but I'll be alone. All by myself. I've Frank's opportunity to come out into the public. Have you ever been to Perry as Frank the Verse Thomas?
Yes, I used to deliver there, but no, not as Frank the Verse.
No, you were nobody back then. You were
That's
just a guy
true.
who called into Rush and Bradshaw if you were lucky.
That was even predates that.
See, okay, so I'm giving you an opportunity to step on the big stage, and what are you doing? You're leaving me for a woman. All right, we have Timur is here, and you've met Timur before. He's with First Family Church in Ankeny, Todd Stiles and Company. He is here for, till this June?
Yep.
And then you're going back to Central Asia, where you're from.
Yep.
And you're planning a church.
Yes, correct.
All right. And so he's passed the snuff. Anybody that's with Todd Stiles is good enough for me. And I know that sounds sarcastic, but I kind of mean that. He's a good guy. But he hasn't passed my snuff yet with the Ask the Pastors questions. So we're going to roll through a few of those for if you don't mind. Is that okay with you?
Sure, yeah. I'll try my best.
All right. Well, there's no right or wrong answers.
Okay.
Unless Frank says so, and then it could be bad.
But you're wrong.
You're on the 6th floor of a building, and he's known to throw people out. All right. So are you the son of a risen king, or are you a sinner?
It's interesting that in the Bible, Apostle Paul, he doesn't call believers sinners. He called them saints. And so I think I will say a risen king, son of a risen king.
Okay. Are you a spiritual being having a human experience, or a human being having a spiritual experience?
Wow.
So are you a spiritual being now present as human flesh, or are you human flesh having a spiritual experience with the Holy Spirit in a relationship with Him? Did you exist before you had flesh?
So if Ephesians 1 says that he chose me before foundation of the world.
All right. So you would be a spiritual being having a human experience.
Probably, yes.
And I got chewed out from Brian on Facebook today, telling me that was just ridiculous.
Leachman?
That we are a human having a spiritual experience, not a spiritual being having a human experience.
And that's based on what?
Well, if you'll hear, hold on. I think that's a fair question. Let me pop over here to my other screen, and I'll tell you what he said, because it won't take me long here because of my incredible computer skills. All right, so Brian, I said Brian, didn't I? Brian Peterson. I like Brian Peterson. He's a good guy. He said, not sure why you would have to be. More importantly, it's based on the idea that the true essence of a man is immaterial, that he's really a ghost wearing a disposable flesh suit, if you will. I would argue that this is Platonic thinking, not the ancient Jewish ways. What we believe about this touches on the whole host of important topics. All right, so that's kind of it. And let me back up a little bit. Let me find it right here. Mac, we are human beings having a spiritual experience, not a spiritual being having a human experience. Excuse me. The latter conviction is founded on Gnostic.
Gnostic.
All right. Which has sadly infected many Christians today. So that's what Brian says. Brian's a pretty smart guy.
Well, it comes down to the idea that God formed man from the earth, knelt down, breathed into his nostrils, and he became a living soul. So some people are wanting to twist that question. Did you exist as a soul? Did Adam exist as a soul?
Oh, I said spirit.
Or a spirit.
Spiritual being having a human experience.
Did you exist before you existed? And I contend, no, only as a thought.
How would you argue with what Timur said about Ephesians, though? He knew us before we were ever formed in our mother's womb. He knew us.
You ever seen that twinkle in your wife's eye? That twinkle in your wife's eye that became a child? That child wasn't a child until something was consummated, but that suggestion, that thought, that idea, that process of conceiving life was in her eye before the conception happened. Same with God. Your twinkle may have been in his eye, but that doesn't mean you existed before you existed.
Timur, I think it's fair to say we can both agree that Frank's wrong. All right, Timur, do you have a relationship with the accuser? Do you, Timur, have a relationship with the accuser?
No, I don't. Because Christ redeemed me. In other words, he bought me. Now I'm his, not Satan's. Because that's what accuser means, Satan.
Right.
In Hebrew. So I don't belong to Satan anymore. No. I belong to the Lord Jesus Christ.
But do you have a relationship with him? I know you don't belong to him.
I think belong is kind of a relationship as well. So I don't have a relationship. I don't pray to it. I don't, hang out or, it doesn't mean that I don't fall. I'm not perfect, but I don't have a relationship, an intimate relationship like I do with God.
The Service Legends Truth text line is open if you'd like to comment, 809-0093, or phone lines are open at 515-244-0077. All right, so.
0993?
0993, 809-0993. All right, so do you know what a homeowners association is?
Nope.
All right, so let's say a whole bunch of people live in an apartment building together. Okay, do you live in an apartment or a house?
In a house.
Okay, well, let's just think about apartments here because I'm running out on ideas. So all these people live in an apartment building, and they live in their own apartment with their own bathroom, their own kitchen, their own door, their own key, et cetera, et cetera. Do they have a relationship with each other? Living in the same building? Following the same rules? Having to walk down the same hallways, dump their garbage in a certain place, keep quiet in the middle of the night?
I don't think so because it depends how you define a relationship. Well, if you live in you can live in the same house with the same people that but not have a relationship, because I know a lot of teenagers have that kind of, they have fights with their siblings, they always lock the doors and
See, I think you and I are defining relationship differently. Because the way I know your spirituality, you know that the accuser lives right here, right now, right in front of us. And in any given moment when we decide to let the darkness snuff out the light, boom, that relationship manifests itself in crude language, in ugly thoughts, in blasphemy, heresy, right? Mm-hmm. The 7 deadly ugly sins. I think it's important to teach people that you do have a relationship with the accuser, and you better own up to it. Because your relationship with the accuser is the one that you were born with, and that's sinful. And he will only be gone from you when you go to heaven. Jesus was the only one perfect enough to not have a relationship with Satan, but he kept trying, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Over and over and over. So I would just ask you to think about it the other way.
I never thought about that way, that you, because I always define relationship, it's something that you know that person really well.
No. Yeah, you're right. If that's how you define relationship, you're right. You don't have one with the accuser. But do you live in Ankeny?
No, I live in Altoona.
All right, so today you're going to get back in a car and you're going to drive down Interstate 80 to Altoona. You have a relationship with all the other cars going down that road, because if they don't follow the rules, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get hurt. So you have a relationship in the fact that you agree you're going to drive the speed limit, you're going to turn on your turn indicators, et cetera, et cetera.
That's interesting. A point of view I never thought about that.
Well, and I could be wrong on that. That's just something I discovered a few years ago when I discovered that I had a relationship with the accuser and I was doing something to flourish it. Now I try not to. All right, Timur is our guest. We're coming back live here on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
21 minutes after 4 o'clock, 4:21, 30 days till St. Valentine's Day. Just giving you notice right now, I'd buy that Valentine's card now. I'd buy the box of chocolate. I'd order the flowers. Whatever it is you do for your sweetie pie on Valentine's Day. Because I'm telling you what, there's no age minimum or age limitation on Valentine's Day. It's a serious day. At least it is to most women and men. I was just really a bad gender person there, wasn't I?
So if you have a relationship with someone, you would want to give them a Valentine.
If it was a good relationship, yeah. Otherwise, I'd give them a bag of poo.
I see.
You got a good relationship, you want to give them something nice on Valentine's Day because they expect it.
Yeah.
Can you give nice not on Valentine's Day, like tomorrow, for example? Or?
Sure, but you can't. But you can't say on Valentine's Day, "Well, honey, I gave you something a month ago." That doesn't work.
You can celebrate Valentine's Day every day if you want.
Sure. Okay.
I
Trump,
just
go ahead. Spend your $9 billion.
1976, I was rebaptized, and my wife was she was baptized. I was rebaptized on Valentine's Day, 1976.
Isn't that cute?
So that blots everything out before if you're Anyway.
On the Service Legends True Text line at 809-0993, what's being said?
Having an acquaintanceship sounds better than a relationship. Relationship sounds intentional.
Oh no.
We're big. This is like, here's the problem with this whole discussion. Let me just put it into it right here. Look, I'm going to be arrogant and loud. We can move off of it, but here's the deal. I walked into the studio. You guys were defining the word relationship. Let me tell you. Here's my opinion. This is a very valid opinion because it's mine. When we look at any word, the definition of the word is best. Any word is best defined by its common usage in the culture. So if you just go to a dictionary and you look up what the definition of a word is in the dictionary, it may not be the common use of that word. In fact, we have new words that develop all the time. In fact, unfriend is a word that's now in the dictionary because of Facebook. So we have this it wasn't a word before, but if you try to say what did unfriend mean a couple of years ago, you wouldn't have been able to look that up. We would have had to define that word by the way that we used it culturally. So however we're using a word, when it comes to like relationship, acquaintance, something like that, it's subjective. What a relationship is subjective. Your point is very valid, but let me ask you this further question, Mac, on this subject. I think one of the things that as Christians we do need to establish, because many of us forget this, because we tend to live like Madonna in a material world. You guys remember that song?
I am a material girl.
Yeah, I'm living in a material world. And we forget the supernatural, though. Regardless, right? I don't want to have a relationship with the accuser, but and in fact, the Scripture tells me to submit to the Lord and resist the devil. Mm-hmm. So I'm supposed to end that relationship. If I have a relationship, I need to have that relationship come to an end. But I think what's interesting, Mac, is to think about the fact that we live in a spiritual world, and there is a spiritual battle going on.
We're trapped in a body of flesh. We were given a new mind, but we're still trapped in this body of flesh. And the flesh, we have to die to the flesh daily.
We do. And so, I mean, how have you, Timur, experienced the spiritual battle in your life? How have you experienced spiritual warfare in your life?
Well, Paul says that accuser of Satan is a prince of the air.
Yes.
Right. And so, before I got converted, I believe I did have a relationship. Satan was my master, and I was slave to that master. But because of the finished work of Christ on the cross, He purchased that. He redeemed me from that relationship. Now I do not belong to devil. I belong to Christ. He's mine, I'm His. And so that's how I see it, but it doesn't mean that Satan he tempts. Like Peter says that he's like a lion looking to whom he devour. And so, especially those who are in the ministry, he tried to destroy those who preaches the gospel. And so that's kind of I feel that kind of oppression. Sometimes, because if I preach the gospel, and Satan tried to destroy that work, even like in the Gospels, you see when Jesus, feeding the 5,000, and then he going to from this side of the land to another in the boat, and Satan just tried to stop him by causing it a storm,
Yeah.
And so even he want to stop Jesus because Jesus was gonna go heal the guy who possessed with a bunch of demons,
Madmen of Gadara.
and so Satan tried to stop him.
Yeah.
And so that kind of war I see that Satan tried to destroy in the ministry.
Timur Nesbitt is our guest. He's with First Family Church in Ankeny. In just a few months, he'll be off to his homeland of Central Asia, where he will plant a church and begin to preach the gospel. And today he's in our Max World, and we're talking a little bit about Ask the Pastor questions. Here's my next one. Can you lose salvation?
No.
What'd you look at him and laugh for?
No.
You can't lose your salvation.
Yeah, because Apostle Paul says in Romans 8:30, right? Whom he called, he predestined. Whom he predestined, he justified. Whom he justified, he glorified. Why he uses past tense? He didn't say you will be glorified. He said you are already glorified. You have eternal life. And so I don't believe you can lose your salvation.
What is, so you came from Central Asia, Timur, right?
Yep.
And you're going back there now. And I'm curious, we talked about this on a previous broadcast that we have in Polk County. Is like 49% of Polk County is religious at all, which means about 50% of the county has no faith at all. And those are staggering statistics here in America, to think there's that many people who aren't Christians. And I keep thinking I'm hearing the music in the background, so I apologize if I can't. My headphones are already. But what's the spiritual climate like in Central Asia where you're going? I mean, what is there? Are there churches there? Are there Christian movements there?
Well, the Central Asia, it's a Muslim. 60% Muslims. 40% Russian Orthodox Christians, and less than 2% newborn Christians.
Wow.
So in other words, in my country, there was a 17 million people live there. Only 55,000 believers, born again Christians.
Wow. And this, but this other church, you said Russian Orthodox?
Russian Orthodox, similar to Greek Orthodox.
Okay, if there's a large, quote unquote, Christian population, it would be that, but again, most of those folks don't have a born again religious relationship with Jesus, as we talked about. Yeah,
because Russian Orthodox, similar to Catholic, and they again, I believe they are opposed of the true gospel. Those who preach the true gospel, they will persecute you for it. Even Russian Orthodox Church.
Wow. So are you affiliated with her? Is there a church there already ready to receive you? Are you going?
Yeah, there's a home church that my parents and other team workers been involved. And so they're waiting for me to come, and then we're going to like I'm going to take men from there and plant in different place of the city, the home church.
That's awesome. That's very exciting.
So I'm
stuff.
real excited to see what the Lord will do with it.
Yeah.
How many miles apart the two churches will be?
It's a biggest city in Central Asia. The place I'm from, it's a 1.6 million people live there, and so it's like 4 Des Moines together.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like from east to west.
Okay.
So,
All right, Timur Nesbitt is our guest. He's with First Family Church in Ankeny, getting ready to return to his home country of Central Asia, where his family is waiting, and they've got a home church planted, and they're going to split and create 2 churches in this community.
Now, when you get over there, you start this church, is it going to be a cruise ship or a battleship?
it's about what?
A cruise ship or a battleship? In other words, are you out just for a nice cruise and a leisurely, we're going to heaven, or are you in the fight and in the battle?
A battleship, definitely. Because, it's a different culture. It's a Muslim country. It's not going to be, unless you preach prosperity gospel, then you have a cruise ship. Then, we don't need to preach Jesus. We can preach wealth and health, and then we're okay. No, I'm going to preach the gospel that we have to live for holiness and hate sin, love God more than anything else, and it's offensive sometimes.
Teach obedience, and that's offensive in and of itself.
Yep.
Just mention the word obedience.
Yep. So, but if I preach health and come to Jesus, you get healthy, no one gonna touch me. But if I say, hey, Jesus is the only way to heaven, then I'll get problems.
Do the churches there, are they experiencing a lot of physical persecution?
Well, if you're stupid enough, I think you will. Because again, the you're not supposed to like in America. You can do street preaching. In Central, you cannot. If they see you doing it, you go into prison. You know what I'm saying?
If they
or
see you preaching the gospel.
Yes,
on the street.
On the street, in public.
Is it Sharia law?
It's not a Sharia law, but it's just, again, you cannot propagate any kind of religious movement in that country. Even Muslims cannot do that. I mean, because of our Islam is different from Islam in Middle East. So we call folk Islam. So that means you add things to that Islam. So like if a true Muslim comes to my country, he will laugh at us. He's like, you call yourself Muslims and you live like pagans. It's like a lot of secularism, a lot of nominal Muslims. And so they like add things. So I worship Allah, plus I like that tree in the mountain, and I'm going to worship that tree as well.
Plus they like to eat pork, say.
So I would say ISIS, guys, they worship the true Islam. They do what a true Islam tells them to do. But in my country, no. But there are some radicals, like maybe 5% are who kind of for ISIS.
Well, if you got 1.6 million and half of them are Muslim, that's 800,000. 500 is 40,000. That's enough to create problems.
Well, it is, and it's interesting though too, Timur, as you pointed out that there you have a majority Muslim population, but you have this sort of asleep, sort of docile Islam. You have a faith that is not really vibrant even amongst Muslims now, but you guys are going over there to preach the true gospel. How did you, and I don't know if you guys have shared this already, how did you come to know the Lord? How did you get saved? Because you said you did not grow up in a Christian home, is that right?
No, so I grew up as an orphan for 16 years, and I heard the gospel through Orphan Kid. But before that, I was practicing Islam. I remember learning Arabic so I can read Quran in Arabic. So I went to mosque on Fridays. I was praying 5 times a day, just trying to earn my salvation or my good works so I can go to heaven. And then heard the gospel through Orphan Kid and repented of my sins and put my trust in Christ alone. So.
Wow, I guess I did not know that you grew up learning being a Muslim, learning Islam. I always get that. It's always difficult for me to say the two things.
I mean, they always told us if you're born in a Muslim country, you must be a Muslim. It's like if you're born in a garage, it doesn't make you a car.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, we are going to take a break. We're going to come back more with Timur Nesbitt, but we're also going to ask Tim Overlin to come in for just a few minutes. Next week is the anniversary of Roe versus Wade. Tim is the head of Personhood Iowa, and he'll tell you what's going on during that time to, I don't know, you wouldn't say celebrate the anniversary. I guess you'd say to highlight it or just to point out that we've been killing babies for 60 years now or 50 years, whatever it's been. He's on his way, and he's live with you. And thanks for listening to The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed raters free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
"22 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News at the top, and then Hank, the Bible Answer Man, at 1-888-ASK-HANK. It's a worldwide international show. It is live here on the radio, and if you'd like to partake in it, I would suggest to call now. The lines fill up, and if you'd like to ask Hank, the Bible Answer Man, some questions about the Bible, he's open to anything. He's a great guy. If you've never listened to him, I would encourage you to listen to him. And his number, again, is 1-888-ASK-HANK. And he'd be glad to answer your questions. Have you ever listened to that, Timur? No, that's okay. He's a good guy. You do a good job on that show, too. Timur Nesbitt is here. He's with First Family Church in Ankeny. In just a few months, he's going to return to his family in Central Asia, and he's going to plant a church. Would that be the right term?
Yep.
All right.
Plant a church.
He's going to plant a church in an area that is 50% Muslim, 49% Greek Orthodox, right?
No, 60% Muslims.
60%
40% Russian Orthodox.
Russian
Christians.
Orthodox, and just a teeny, weeny little sliver of Christians.
Yeah, true-born Christians, yeah.
Isn't your life in danger?
I'm not sure. Well, I can't. That's why I can't say the country. I always say Central Asia just for secure reasons.
Okay, guys, you don't want to name exactly where you're going back. Are there people dying while they preach the gospel over there, or are they just persecuted?
Persecuted.
Which, of course, death is be persecuted, but
it would be.
But not everyone dies. You're just persecuted.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yet. Yeah. All right. I want to switch chairs here for just a second to Tim Overlin, who is with Personhood Iowa, and talk about the big thing with Roe versus Wade. What is it? The 40?
40, this would be 40, what is this, 16?
Yeah, this is 16. So that 44 years since Roe versus Wade was made law. And Bob
not made law. We don't accept that term.
Oh, I'm sorry. What do we accept?
Well, obviously it's, in air quotes, legal, but the Supreme Court doesn't make law. So.
Well, they're not supposed to, correct?
So why
they're not allowed to.
Why is it legal for a woman to kill her child?
Well, because people have bought into this judicial supremacy, just like we now redefine marriage. Same concept.
Okay.
Sorry, I threw you off track already.
Information voters.
Well, yeah, some higher information too.
Let me ask you a question. So, if a woman walked out of a Planned Parenthood And a genuine police officer, a Des Moines police officer, said to her, "Young lady, did you have an abortion?" And she said yes. Could the police officer walk into Planned Parenthood and arrest that doctor for killing a child?
Theoretically, I suppose. You had obviously, as you know, that would start a long chain of trying to force people to do what we believe is their job, starting with the people in the governor's mansion all the way down. So I believe that yes, that's the Fifth and 14th Amendment protect our lives, and we're not to be those aren't supposed to be taken from us without due process. So that would be a fun experiment.
That would be, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious. But see, the problem is the bloodthirsty animals on the low information side don't play by any rules other than the strongest survive. And the strongest is usually with lies and deceit and accusations.
Well, you remember we had back in September we had Dr. Lawrence White here for an event. We were on the air with him and Steve Dace and some different folks. And one of the things he says really stuck with me is we used to talk about the Holy Trinity, and I know you guys are kind of talking. You were talking biblically, obviously, before I got in here, and so we used to talk about the Holy Trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. Now we talk about the Holy Trinity of me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
And so abortion, all of these different things are. Totally selfish.
So tell me what's coming up to, what's the word? It's not celebrate.
Commemorate, maybe.
Commemorate. What's coming up next week?
So it's the next Friday, the 22nd, is the, again, I might have been wrong on that 44. I have to do my math correctly.
That's all right.
And it's late in the afternoon. People aren't counting right. So the 22nd is the anniversary of Roe v. Wade. So I think the math they figure is about 1.5 million babies a year is where they come up with their numbers. So we're getting really close to 60 million or more. A lot of churches some churches will be doing something to commemorate that on this coming Sunday on the 17th. Some will do more, some will do less. Some won't do anything. My particular church, where I go, is First Federated Church. We're going to acknowledge it next Sunday because we have a church-wide event going on this weekend. But we'll acknowledge it next weekend.
A lot of churches this weekend are commemorating Martin Luther King Day on Monday.
Yeah, so they're doing that. I will say not tomorrow. This is Thursday. Saturday is the March for Life down at the Capitol.
Yep.
So they'll walk from the Capitol to the Supreme Court building, and then there will be some activities during the afternoon. Phenomenal speakers. Our keynote speaker, Melissa Oden, who's from Sioux City originally and survived a saline abortion, which is a phenomenal testimony, incredible testimony. So that'll be going on Saturday.
On the radio with us.
Yeah,
before.
She's great.
All right, so if people want to participate, where?
State Capitol at 11. I think they're having a mass, Catholic mass. I'm not Catholic, so that slips my mind. But 9:30, I think there's a Catholic mass. I'm sorry, I don't know where that's at. You can go on to, actually, it's Our Right to Life is the one sponsoring that event. 11 o'clock at the Capitol steps. And then down at the event center, I think all the activities kick off at noon on Saturday. So I'm going to be down there in a little bit different capacity with on the political front, but I will be there. I definitely want to listen to Melissa Oden speak. So,
and you said political front. You're campaigning for Ted Cruz. We just talked here about 45 minutes ago about this loan that he took out with Goldman Sachs. That the media, I think the New York Times, is trying to make a big deal out of it. You're in on the information. What's the real scoop there?
Well, if you go and just Google it, and I can't remember the reporter he was talking to, but Ted Cruz has about a 54-second video that explains it. But if you go and actually, even if you read the article, it says he didn't do anything wrong. He borrowed money against his own equity. Anybody that has that kind of account can do that, whether it's with Goldman Sachs or any of the other type of equity firms, you can do that. He didn't do anything inappropriate. And they borrowed that money. We're throwing Goldman Sachs out there because they're not popular.
Big banks.
Yep. So we got to throw that out there.
My concern would be, I'm not, that if he's got a legitimate excuse, fine. But Tim Geithner, we got a litany of people who came from Goldman Sachs. Could we at least get Cruz to commit to, if he's voted for president or the nominee, that he'll commit to no Goldman Sachs execs or appointees into cabinet positions, et cetera? Because Sachs has an official policy to encourage their people to go into government for this precise reason, to basically coerce us. So, he may be the squeakiest, cleanest guy on the planet, but can he at least make that commitment? Because that would make me feel a lot better.
Well, that's above my pay grade, and I work for one of the PACs, so I can't even talk to the campaign, so I can't do that. But, it was reported. He wasn't hiding anything. It was in several different forms. In fact, you can go find the form. I think I shared that on Facebook earlier today. You can find the form where they disclosed it, so it wasn't like it was some kind of secret deal, and it's all been paid back. It was, if anybody else had done that, you wouldn't notice it. There was just a reporting thing on because he ran for Senate. I think it was when he ran for Senate.
I think the report said there's still possibly up to 100,000 still outstanding, but it was somewhere between 50 and 100.
Yeah,
but
on $1 million,
sure,
it's a drop in the bucket. And again, they didn't hide it.
Yeah, so it's just politics trying to make a big deal out of nothing.
He's a front runner. He's a target.
Yep. And your man is on stage tonight.
Yep.
Almost the center of the stage.
He's right next to P.T. I'm sorry, the Donald.
Oh, come on. P.T. Barnum, listen to you. All right, so your predictions on your man tonight in the Republican debate.
I think he's gonna. I think he does a really good job anyway. When people come after him, he's maybe not quite as winsome as a Mike Huckabee, but I think he handles a lot of this stuff with humor. And I think he'll do a good job with that as well. And, he's been hit, as you guys were saying, he's been hit pretty hard this week. And a lot of us would like to see him maybe take a swing back, but not get nasty. He does a really good job of staying on the issues for the most part. So.
All right, Tim Overlin in the house. Next week is a commemoration of the anniversary of Roe versus Wade. Obviously not a good time for us. Saturday is a walk on the Capitol. 11 o'clock, you said, down State Capitol.
Yep.
And then after that, we're going to Hy-Vee Hall.
The event center.
The event center.
And you invited me next week. I'm going to bring in a ministry next week that's a little bit different than maybe the normal talk. So
good. Can't wait to hear that. All right, we're coming back with more from Timur here on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. We are back live with Timur Nesbitt. He is you're a missionary?
I'm a church planner or a pastoral intern, First Family.
First Family Church, Todd Stiles Church, out in Ankeny. He leaves here in less than 6 months for Central Asia, where he'll return to his home country and with his family help plant a church in a population that is so tiny of Christians, it's less than 1%.
Yep.
Less than 1%. Man, you are discipling, aren't you? Mm-hmm. And you got a big smile on your face when you say
thanks.
that.
Yep.
Is this what you've dreamed of for years?
Nope.
No.
No, and never. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to pursue something else when I was I was pursuing marketing because I want to be a businessman, and then I read a book by John Piper called Don't Waste Your Life. Really shook my world and kind of changed my calling. And I believe God called me to go back to my own people and preach the gospel.
That's courageous. It's courageous.
That's the name of the book?
No, that's courageous.
Oh, he's being courageous.
The name of the book is Don't Waste Your Life. That's the name of the book.
Okay. And have you told John Piper that his book had that kind of impact on you?
Nope.
You should.
I should, yeah. I should tweet him.
Yeah, you should tweet him. Yeah, there we go.
What?
He should tweet him.
That was one of Paul's attributes, was courage.
Yeah.
So you're in good company.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think you should let John Piper know. You never know, Timur. That message may come to him on a day that he desperately needed encouragement.
Yep.
And look at how he changed your life with that book. And I think it'd be important that you'd let him know.
I will, Lord willing. Yeah. I want to.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, you were asking some good questions of Timur. Go ahead and continue those. I enjoyed listening.
No, I think I think it's sorry. No, I think it's really neat. I was I am a big fan of Gospel for Asia, which is an organization that raises up missionaries in the country, right, that people are native to in their native country. I think it's really neat. How long have you been gone from your home country there? How long have you been in the States?
First time I came to U.S. in 2002, and then I went back and forth. But then I went for school at Des Moines Community College in 2008. And so since then, I've been staying in U.S. I transferred from DMAG to Bible school in Louisville, Kentucky, a boys' college. I graduated there with pastoral degree, and now I'm back to Iowa and doing pastoral internship with First Family.
So it seems redundant to ask, but so you feel at home in your home country? I mean, this is going to be a place you understand, a place you recognize, a place that the culture makes sense to you.
It does, but at the same time, I have to remember when Jesus himself, when he went to his hometown, he was accepted there. So a lot of people tell, no, you know the language, you know the culture, you'll be okay. And I was like, no. Even Jesus knew his hometown, and people didn't receive him.
Yeah.
And so that's what I feel like I will be treated that way, maybe too.
Well, no, that's very true. Do you think that I have several friends that are in church planning right now. We had Philip Herman, who's planning a church in Highland Park, Des Moines area in just yesterday. And when we think about church planning, and you went to, American College. Boyce College is a well-known Bible college here in the States, and I'm sure they taught you some about church planning. You've had some discussions. Do you feel like the ideas, the models of church planning that you've learned are going to resonate over there, or do you guys have a unique plan of how you want to actually plant the church?
Again, you need to know the culture. Like when I go back to Central Asia, I'm not going to plan an American church. Right. That's how a lot of people think Western. You have to have a guy in the front playing a guitar. I don't think it's gonna work that way.
Yeah.
So
what was Christian worship like there? I guess
most Christians, they meet at home. Like when early church, they started planning. They did at homes.
Yeah.
And so like Paul talks about in 1 Timothy. According to the pastor, he's like, hey, you need to be above approach. If you don't take care of your own home, how can you be a pastor? So in other words, I think when some non-believers or someone comes to your house and they see how you're treating your home, and they was like, I don't think you should be a pastor, because you don't know how to take care of your house. So that's how I'm planning to do. It's to start with the home church, and I think home churches in Central Asia, they go really well. Then if you want to plan a Western church, people's like, why you bring American church? We don't want an American church. We want biblical church.
How do you anticipate evangelizing, sharing the gospel there? You mentioned previously that you can't do the open air preaching. You can't preach in public stores. Can you share the gospel openly at a coffee shop, something like that?
What do? You build relationships, and then you invite them to your house. And so when you have, the Central Asian people, they love that kind of like hospitality. It's a huge thing. They invite and they feed you, and then you just talk and ask questions and see what they are and spiritually. And then go from there and trust the Lord that He will draw that person to Himself.
I think that form of evangelism, I think, works here in the States really well too. I don't know that Timur, if you heard, we talked about it on the broadcast. We've had a gal on CNN, supposedly educated person who didn't quite understand Christian vernacular. When Ted Cruz said that he would like to see the body of Christ rise up and support him, this unfortunately ignorant reporter said that she believed that Ted Cruz was actually saying that the physical body, not the spiritual body of Christ, meaning that Ted Cruz was asking for the body to raise from the grave of Christ. A very ignorant statement, kind of a weird statement. But we see in this culture, we can't just speak the gospel the way we always have. We need to begin building relationships here, even in the U.S. In the discipleship work that you've been doing here, do you see that to be true as well?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, again, if you, this country have freedom, so don't take for granted.
Yeah.
Use it, be creative, but be faithful to the gospel.
Yeah, we have a privilege here to be able to do what we do. I mean, to think about that we can do Christian radio at all is something we shouldn't take for granted.
You probably don't have Christian radio in your home country, do you?
No, we don't.
You could take Frank with you and start a Christian radio station. He could be like the Franklin Graham.
Only if it could be Frank's world.
Well, Timur, God bless you. Good luck. I hope you stay in touch with us. Through Facebook and stuff like that, it'll probably be easy.
Thank you, yeah.
But it'd be fun to have you on Skype sometime.
Yeah, if you want me back, let me know.
Yeah,
I'll be back.
Yeah, I'd like
so
to.
I have 5 more months.
Well, but I mean after you go over there.
Oh.
I think it'd be fun to have you come on every once in a while and tell us how it's going.
Okay.
Yeah, keep our listeners involved with that. Timur Nesbitt with First Family Church in Ankeny. He's heading to Central Asia, his home country, in about 6 months to plant a church. What, as Frank said, what great courage and faith that takes. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Make sure tonight you forgive somebody that you've never been able to forgive before, because as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you in church.